This is Road to the Golden Door, where we unpack the proven success formula straight from the minds of Golden Door winners, uncovering the motivation, methods, and the mindset it takes to become an elite performer in door-to-door sales and in life. This is Road to the Golden Door. Now, here's your host, Mikey Lucas.
All right, welcome back to the show. I got another two-time Golden Door Award winner, Scotty Pugmire, in here. He's going on his fifth summer knocking on doors, back-to-back Golden Door Award winners. And man, it was awesome meeting you the other day at a door-to-door conference, man. I'm excited to be able to have you on the show. So, Scotty, welcome to the show.
Awesome, super stoked to be here. Probably the best person I met at Door-to-Door Con. So that was good running into you. And yeah, honestly, just honored to be on the show. I'm really stoked about it. So thanks for having me.
Let's go, brother. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. So tell me, for everybody that doesn't know Scotty, who's Scotty Pugmire? Other than the fact that you were the biggest dude on stage with the most accounts. Come on, bro. Who is Scotty?
I don't know about that. So nothing too crazy. Just kind of born and raised around the U.S. My dad worked construction growing up, so learned to make friends quickly by being moved out over summer years and then starting a new school somewhere else. So I've lived in Colorado, lived in Wyoming, Utah. I claim Minnesota to be home because that's where I went through sophomore through senior year, kind of the more defining years. And then that's kind of upbringing. I served a mission for my church. 2 years I spent in Guatemala right after graduating high school. So that was a huge learning experience that really shaped who I am. I think about it, use it every day, the skills and thoughts, and think about the people that I met down there constantly. After that, went to Brigham Young University. There, I graduated in 2020 from the business school with a degree in information systems. So pretty analytical. I like the technical stuff and computers, but I also just love I realized I like people more than I like computers. So I was happy to fall into door-to-door sales. Probably most important part of my life is in September of 2 years ago. So 2021, married my wife, Alyssa, and just awesome. Best thing that ever happened to me. She's way better looking. And just, it's pretty close to idolatry. Like I worship this girl. She's amazing. Like I love her so much. And there's no way I could have done Golden Door this year without her. And she tells me all the time, like, you could have done it. I'm like, no, honestly, I do not think I could have. You're a huge part of it. And she's great. So I'll probably talk about her too much, but yeah, that's huge. And then, I started in pest control in my first summer was 2019. Before that, had no sales experience. I started I've worked at Park City Ski Patrol. I've done my best job was probably party hero at a bowling alley, ran birthday parties, made balloon animals, and was an EFY counselor, which is a church camp, for 2 summers right after I got back from my 2-year church trip. So, but yeah, that's pretty much me. I guess there's more that we'll discover, but yeah, anything else you got or you want to know?
Yeah, tell me. So being in pest, how many accounts did you hit this year? And let's talk about let's just talk about your what do they call those? Your trophies, I guess. Your qualifications. I don't forget the word. Your accolades. There it is.
Accolades.
Tell me about the 2 Golden Door years. How many months did you do? How many accounts did you do? What was your talk the pest numbers? Tell me.
Yeah, to pest specifically. Yeah, so I'll start year one if that's important to anyone listening. But year one had an awesome summer. I never would have expected it, and even after first summer, I wasn't sure if I was coming back to it, even with as good of a summer as I had. Broke the rookie record here at GreenX. Did 525 accounts, $303,000 of rev. Next summer, ran my own team and sold less accounts, but had a bigger contract value, so sold like 315 in rev. After that, I went out my third summer to sell. That was my first Golden Door. Did about 736 accounts. I think it was 555,000 in revenue. Did that it was right around 4.5 months. And then my year this year ended the year at around $753 in revenue and 1,000 accounts. I think it was 1,001, 1,000 even. So yeah, that's kind of where it was. My goal this summer, I'd done the Golden Door the year before, and the goal wasn't Golden Door this year. It was 1,000 accounts. So I hit Golden Door with plenty to spare, about 100K in rev left, and but I wanted the 4-digit number by my name. So that was the main thing driving me, was to get to that 1,000 accounts. And it was funny seeing all my friends that hit Golden Door, and then you wouldn't see their name popping up on Instagram or the feeds or anything. And I was stoked for them, but it did make it a little more difficult to be like, hey, maybe Golden Door is enough, But that last month was definitely a push.
Yeah, it's definitely cool seeing that 4 digits. I'll tell you that. It's a little bit different.
Yeah,
it doesn't discredit everybody else, but it's definitely like you hit 1,000.
Well, I won't. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't nice. Like, I did it. Took me pretty much 6 months. I wasn't the guy who does it in 4 months or 3 months. It took me a while, and I had a slow start and a strong finish. But I started March 28th. I think it was my first day. It was snowing, raining, freezing cold. I should have brought like 3 winter jackets. I brought like 3 hoodies, and I was just miserable on the doors, slinging deals. And then after that, knocked till my anniversary, September 24th, and that was September 23rd is the day I hit the 1,000 accounts, and I knew I needed to hit it before then. So, but yeah, that was kind of the day I ended. So pretty much 6 months.
So you had 1,000 accounts. I mean, you basically you doubled what you did in the first year, and you were the rookie of the year. You said,
rookie of the year that year,
and broke the rookie record.
Yep.
So let me ask you this: Morgan, which is Morgan Hurst, which is somebody that also hit 1,000 accounts. I think you hit 1,006 or something along those lines. You guys both hit 1,000 accounts. He talked a lot about you in our interview. So if you haven't watched that show, you should go back and watch that one too. He said that he doesn't deserve to be on this show, but he's like, bro, you got to interview Scotty. So I was like, okay, well, I got to know who this Scotty guy is. So funny enough, we had already had you scheduled for a couple of days after the show anyway. So that was serendipitous. But he talked a lot about you being the pace setter. And if there's anything I know in life, sports, business, sales, okay. When you have somebody, here's the saying I always say is hitting is contagious. So is striking out. So tell me a little bit about why Morgan said you are the pace setter.
Yeah, that's funny, because literally the whole summer, I don't know if there was really a day where he was not in the lead to hit 1,000 accounts. He hit it first. He sold way more than I did all summer long, and I think he ended with more accounts than I did. So interesting for him to say. I think potentially it could have been that I hit the Golden Door the year before, and but I felt like the whole time I was like not on his heels, but I was a couple steps back, just trying to catch up. Like, how did this Morgan guy go from being a actuary science? I don't know if you call him scientist, but he worked in actuary science, and now he's like. I was one of the better guys the year before. There's 2 other guys who won Golden Door, and I was, I think, the second or third one to get it. But yeah, Morgan was just beating everybody up and down, and I was just like, where is he knocking? What is he doing? Like, how is he just crushing it? So, but I totally believe with the idea of striking out and hitting, where it's rare to see somebody at one company get a Golden Door when somebody else doesn't. I feel like you need somebody with you to push you and pull you up and prove to you, because it is lonely at the top. Some days it feels like you have to go out and sell 10, 11 accounts, but everyone else is cool with 2, 3, or 1. And you're just like, you're holding yourself to a different standard. So having somebody else like Morgan there with you hitting those high numbers is what I would deem as essential. So whether they're ahead of you or with you, I wouldn't say it matters, but just having somebody to know that they're working just as hard, and if they're capable of doing it, then I am as well.
Interesting. Yeah. Proximity is key. So question, I don't know the answer to this. How many Golden Door Award winners on stage with Green X?
GreenX had two. So two from that sold with GreenX and knocked with GreenX. There's a lot of different divisions that happened in 2020. So there's a lot that had started knocking with GreenX that went to different companies, but just two from us.
Two, Morgan and yourself.
Yep.
You guys were in the top 1% of all those guys up there, though. So there wasn't very many guys that hit the 4-digit number.
I don't know. I don't know how many people are at 1,000. I know that there's some that were probably up there 4,000 because the revenue wouldn't have gotten them to Golden Door.
Right.
And so I think it's great what Sam does is have that distinction where the revenue can get you there, but also 1,000 accounts can get you there as well, because there's credit in both. It's hard selling people on value. There's hard selling more people on a less valuable substance, I guess. So nothing but respect for those guys out, all complete dogs, and they grind every day. And there's few that know what it truly takes to get up there. Yeah. But once you do get up there, you know what it takes, and there's just a new level of respect for every single individual that's up there.
Yeah. Okay. So bring me back in this transition. Bring me back to this past year. Like, you're just off of 1,000 accounts. What was your routine like? What were you doing every single day? Did you have something that was standard routine? And I'm just so you know, I'm not a very big morning routine guy. Even though I have a morning routine, I'm the self-proclaimed anti-guru. Okay. So everyone always says, oh, you got to have a morning routine. You got to have a morning routine. Well, sure. Everybody has a routine, whether you like it or not. Like, if you think you don't think you have a routine, you have a routine. If I followed you around for 48 hours, I can tell you exactly what you do for the most part, probably 90% of the year. I'm more convinced that the nighttime routine is more important and leads to more success than the morning routine. But that doesn't mean that I don't have one or the other. That doesn't mean I don't do both. That being said, I want to know what type of routines you did, whether that was for me, when I would go out knocking on doors, every single time it'd be the exact same protein bar, the Big Max 100 cookie dough protein bar every single time. And more than likely a white monster or the light blue monster. So tell me what you did, whether that was what you ate, what you did, routines, breathing techniques, goals. What did you do, Scotty, in this 1,000 account year?
Yeah, great question. I can track with you on the not loving and not like being a huge advocate for you have to have the exact same routine every single morning. Otherwise, the guys that have the best morning routine would be the best salesperson. I feel like for the most part,
right,
you just don't see that very, very often. There's a thing that I hear a lot talking about being strategically imbalanced and being willing to have checks and balances and compromises in certain areas. But I would agree, like I tried to adhere to a routine, and I tried to at least keep tendencies. And typically I could break that into running a team schedule, and then I'd have a non-running the team schedule, which we'd call it pre and post season. So that's your months of April or September typically. So pre and post season, usually every day throughout the summer, I make a really constant effort to get to the gym. I like working out. I like how I feel after I work out. I like how I look when I work out, and I don't like what I look like when I don't, right? So I try to make a good routine of going to the gym every day. I'd say I got there most days. Other days, usually the only thing that would get in that time is if I needed to be with a rep and talk with them and walk them through their next couple steps. But for pre and post season, I typically start my knocking day on the doors, try to be there at 10 o'clock, and then off the doors 30 minutes after it gets dark or something. It kind of depended on the area. I finished in Indiana, on the part of Indiana that's on the very edge of the time zone. So it was pitch black at 7:30 at the end of September. So that really cut down. I felt like I lost 2 hours because in Minneapolis where I'd sold, it was on the other edge of the time zone, and I'd have light till 9. So, but yeah, I'd say usually my routine when I didn't have a team is I'm more focused on my personal sales. I'm not too worried about eating. I'm fine to knock from 10 to 9 and not really have any food or have like a snack or something. But that's typically my schedule. So I'll wake up, go to the gym, come home, have breakfast with Alyssa. After that, I'll head to the morning meeting. And then after the morning meeting, head back, have a good lunch, and then head out on the doors. So that's typically my schedule with the team is we try to be on the doors around 1 o'clock, knock till 30 minutes past dark with your callbacks and everything like that.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it's important. People ask me that all the time, so I figured I'd ask. Top performers like yourself, what you do if you're very, ritualistic. I know a lot of sales guys are very, very like, they're like baseball players. They're very superstitious. They wear the same cologne or wear the same whatever,
Or knock with a hat. Yeah. Or don't knock with a hat. Yep.
Yeah. I was speaking of hats. I think it was really funny. I was wearing a hat the first day at Door-to-Door Con, and I was like, I think at Door-to-Door Conference is the only, or a door-to-door salesman is the only person that can rock a backwards hat and rock a suit, which is what I was doing the first day. So it's interesting.
That was a good look.
I liked it.
If I could rock that, I might wear it more often. There's not guys as good looking as Mikey is. So, I mean, you rock it.
I appreciate that. I work hard on it, man. I always just tell people, I'm like, dude, I was born like this, man. Like, thank God my mom and dad met each other. I didn't have a choice to look like this.
Yeah. The one thing I will say too, that I'm thinking about routines is just for the audience out there, it is important to not compromise things. Like there are certain things you can't compromise. And for me, that's time on the doors, being usually try to be the first one on and the last one off. And it doesn't have to be that. It can just be, hey, no matter what, if your goal is Golden Door again, go out and be on the doors at your time, not anyone else's time. You don't have to compromise for somebody else. You can adjust your time outside of that knocking schedule. But to me, that time's sacred between 10 and 9 or 1 and 9:30 or 10 to 7, whatever your time zone dictates. That's your knocking time. And my wife is amazing at this. Like we did distance my first Golden Door summer, and we had a good conversation before what it was going to look like. And it was something like, hey, I can't talk to you during the day. Like, let's talk every day at night. Let's chat. But during the day, like I need to chat. And my mom, same thing. Like my mom will call me and I'll chat. I'll be on the door. I'm like, hey mom, I'm working. Like, love you. I'll call you later. And I forgot. Like, it's just funny how some people work the other way and they're, oh yeah, how's it going, man? Long time no see. And they're jumping on the call, and immediately that frame of that sacred time is gone just because you have that interruption. And to me, that's something super important, is not compromising that knocking time. You can have the 6 months after, you can have the 8 months after to do whatever you want, but know that time that you've set aside to accomplish your goals is there to accomplish your goals. And if that one action is not helping you accomplish that goal, it shouldn't be a part of that time.
Let's dive into that a little bit deeper, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It brings up a good point. I think for the guys that don't hit Golden Door versus the guys that are hitting Golden Door, they are very strategic, using your word, very strategic with their 168 hours in a week. They consider sleep a part of work. They consider, going to the gym, staying active a part of work. They consider that a part of their success in the Golden Door, in the road to the Golden Door. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Explain to me why you think people that don't hit Golden Door. Let's talk to them really quickly. Why do you think the people that are not hitting Golden Door awards are not hitting them when it comes to valuing, respecting their time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'd love to get your thought on it after. One thing that I've seen, just not even just guys not hitting Golden Door, but not hitting their goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Is for any door-to-door sales job, there's going to be some sort of level of sacrifice and commitment. You've got to go to a new market. You have to give up on not being willing to go at 7 o'clock to get a close, or go past 9 o'clock when you're supposed to be home to go and talk to the decision maker when the non-decision maker wasn't home. I think for us in the pest industry, the biggest one is you're leaving an entire summer to go somewhere new that you don't know, and you make that sacrifice. But I see a lot of times people almost cancel out that sacrifice by not giving up the smaller things, like responding to text messages to friends at home, or staying up too late playing some sort of game, or, just not taking care of their sleeping habits, which giving up 4 months of the summer or going to bed an hour earlier every day or half an hour earlier every day, I would definitely take the half hour every day. But I would say a lot of times those big sacrifices that people are making are almost useless due to the other little things and the sum of all those little things that they're not giving up, or they're not fine tuning, and they're not changing. So I'd say that's something big. If anyone's out here listening, set on getting a golden door, identify what your big sacrifices are, and then find like some of those small ones that might not get brought up right away or might go unnoticed, and be willing to make all sacrifices, not just the big ones and not just the small ones, not the hard ones, not the easy ones, but make the sacrifices and stick to them. And that doesn't mean you're giving it up completely. Like, one thing I do is, and like, I'm not a huge gamer at all. Like, the only game I ever play it's PUBG, and it's on the iPad. And the only reason I play it is because I had an iPad after my first summer and my cousins all played. And like, I just don't do that at all during the summer. I just don't have time for it, or I've decided I don't have time for it. I'm sure I could make time. But that's just one thing. It's a small thing to give away, and I can focus more on my team. I can focus more on my personal sales. I can focus more on my wife, and finding those small things that you're willing to give up. And at the end of the day, at the end of the summer, when you have the Golden Door trophy and you're up on stage, you're not thinking about all the times I missed squatting with the boys. And I'm not thinking about the times where I could have, been at Lake Powell or talking with my buddy on the phone. I'm thinking about all the things I gave up and how it's worth it and how I feel accomplished and that end all feeling. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you say is the difference? You've talked to more Golden Doors than I have, I would say, probably even just today. But what would you say is the difference between those that get it and those that don't, and even those that set out to get it and don't do it?
Yeah, I definitely have talked to more. I've created more than I think any individual manager has. I had 7 guys on stage this year. My goal, just so you know, is to have more people on stage under my umbrella and not own a company next year in 2024. And I will beat that. It looks like I need to have more than 17, because it looks like freaking the grid's going to have a lot. Yep. So I have to figure out how to have 20 plus Golden Door Award winners under my umbrella, which actually is not very hard to do. It's just a matter of getting after it. So in my coaching sphere, one of the reasons why. So there's two different directions we can take this. Let me talk to the pest control, solar, summer sales, and solar blitz model first, and then I'll go to the year round one if you want to talk about that.
Okay.
The reason why, one of the major reasons why guys are not hitting their goals, whether that be a Golden Door or $100,000 or $300,000, whatever, they're not hitting their goals, is in a blitz model or in a summer sales model, is, I think the first thing is routine at nighttime. They are one of the things that I noticed my very first summer knocking on doors was that everyone was going out almost every night. Whether that was, to go get food and hanging out, which is cool, camaraderie, it's great culture. But I didn't, because my manager, when I first got out there, said, here's your script, read your script, memorize your script, put your script, talk to yourself and review your script with your people in your house, and review your script in the mirror, and then record your pitch, and then break down your pitch after. And that's what I did. And because I wasn't selling 2, 3, 4 alarms a day, that's what I was doing. So my first summer, I think I sold 62 or 64 accounts. So I sucked like really bad. So it wasn't great at all. I wasn't even good. I almost got sent home 4 times. But, because I was like the bodyguard, everyone was like going to keep me around. The main reason why people are not in a blitz model or a summer sales model or not hitting their goals is because they're not respecting going to bed. And I know that sounds like, I'm going to turn this podcast off. Just everyone's telling me, no. It's like, no, dude. Like, the reason why you suck or you're not hitting your goals is because you're on TikTok, Instagram, Fox News, CNN News at nighttime. Like, there's a time and a place for all of those things. There's nothing inherently evil with any of those, but we we are in this rat race in America, especially if you live on the West Coast, Utah, Vegas, or Phoenix, and California, LA, and San Diego area. Like those, we are so fast paced that we don't allow our brains to slow down, which is one of the reasons why people, and I don't believe in burnout, but people will eventually grind out or burn out. I guess you can say the same thing. Is because they're not respecting the first thing, which is sleep. The second thing, again, very elementary, but water. We're not drinking enough water. We're drinking way too much effing energy drinks, coffee, sodas, pops, wherever you're from, right? We're not putting in the initial foundations. We think that we can supplement them with motivational videos, or I'm going to just, willpower it out. And again, I know that sounds very basic and elementary, but I will tell you this. The guys that I coach right now and the people that I've influenced that have been on stage in prior years, dude, they're very elementary. They're just they're down to the basics. It's not we even in finances, right? Like even in investing, we think that we have to do these crazy 50, 70% returns to become a billionaire in 3 seconds. And it's like, no, dude, like, did you go look at Google this, turn the show off, come back, or do this after the show. Go look at Warren Buffett's net worth over history. It was like so slow and then just went up, but it was like nothing for the first like 20 years. So anyways, same thing. We want success too quickly, I guess would be the third thing. And I would say the fourth thing is people don't realize how much effort actually has to be put in. And we forget that if you can use the rocket analogy, like a SpaceX rocket, it's like over 85% of the fuel is used within the first like freaking 300 feet or something like that, 300 yards, whatever it is. It's like getting the momentum going initially is so hard. And then we take time off, and then we go to a wedding. Then we go to, our Powell, like you said, or Tahoe, and your family trip. It's like, dude, in the beginning of my career, in the first like 5 years, and I really hate that I have to say this, but it's true, and I don't regret it, but it fueled me. I missed funerals of friends and of close family members and weddings because I was committed to doing what I was doing. Now my family now understands that kind of forgives me for that because I'm there most of the time now, but like the momentum cycle, the fourth thing, the momentum cycle is broken so quickly, and we don't realize how much double, triple effort has to go back in to restart the momentum cycle. So, for instance, I've got multiple clients in a blitz model for solar right now, and they are losing momentum so frequently that we're having to work on their off trip. They go 10 on, 20 off. We're having to work on their off trip routine because they end up losing momentum, and it's very hard for them to get back in. Now, what worked was continual education, where they were still thinking about solar, and because they're in solar, they were still thinking about solar and doing solar calls or back end work or whatever it was we were doing with them, the different strategies we were doing. So we would go from 4 or 5 sales in a 10-day blitz to now 15, 16 sales, 20 sales in a 10-day blitz. So to get that momentum cycle back up and running is one of the underestimated, I guess, higher level things that people don't consider. And they just like, yeah, it's no big deal. Like, I'm good. Like, I can just, let's turn on some Eric Thomas and have, friggin' David Goggins yell at me or Jocko Willink yell at me and I'll be good. It's like, no, dude, it's not. And then the full-time model, the main reason is just people are just not working. They're just not working. I don't understand them. I don't want to understand them. They're just not working. In Las Vegas, it's very popular. This is going to be funny, but in Las Vegas, it's very popular for people that are real estate agents to be strippers. The reason why is because they don't want their moms to know that they're a stripper, so they put that they're a real estate agent, and they go get their license or whatever, and they put all over their Instagram that they're a real estate agent, and they don't sell any deals, right? But they're making all this money. So it's the same, and same thing in solar or full-time positions, alarms full-time, solar full-time, roof full-time, is that we think that because I got the title of I'm a sales pro and I'm an entrepreneur and I make my own schedule, that we can make our own schedule and work when we want to. not realizing that we just go up, down, up, down, up, down, and we never end up taking off. So, it's like the Wright brothers with their first planes. They just, kept crashing. And then we want to blame the neighborhood, the market, the president, a war, the economy, the company, God forbid, your manager, my wife. We never want to blame ourselves. We don't want to take responsibility.
Training we got, the energy we have.
Yeah, I never got
the area.
You want to knock with me? What the heck, So that's the differences there. And then the first four obviously boil over to the second model as well. But the main thing on the second one is just that they don't actually work. We're putting in 2-3 hours a day rather than 8 hours a day. We're not treating it like a job. We're treating it like a hobby. And obviously that's why you're not hitting your goals, because you're treating it like a hobby. But they have audacious goals that they want to make $1 million a year, $500,000 a year, $300,000 a year, and they don't, because they treat it like a hobby. That's it.
I feel like I hear all the time people that talk about like, oh, dude, well, if I was this athlete and they were paying me $1 million a year to go and exercise my body the best I could, like, dude, I would look great, But the fact of the matter is, like, a lot of people have that potential to make multiple 6 figures, multiple 7 figures in the industry we're in. It's like, you have the opportunity. Why not? Maybe it's not working out, but maybe it's getting better at your craft and putting in the time and the effort. And yeah, I'd say 100% that for a lot of guys that don't hit it, it's simply just not enough time on the doors. They're not getting out early enough during the day. They're not staying late enough in the night. And then their routine is off. And also they're not willing to do the preseason. They're not willing to do the postseason. I just think of how many pest control specifically would hit Golden Door if they were willing to stay an extra 2 months and to get past like the start and stop phenomena where they're just able to get better a little bit each time. I think that's huge. So the other interesting thing that I would love to ask everybody is, I'm curious how many energy drinks are people using on the doors, and I'd be curious to find the people who use like fewer of them, like who isn't really relying on that. They're relying on other things and what they use. Because I'm the same way. Like I definitely drink energy drinks, but I'm not doing one a day. I'm not doing 2 a day. It's like I usually don't do any of them until I get to maybe August or September, and that's simply because it's our Rumble thing, and it's kind of cool to make the Rumble juice or whatever, Yeah. But it's really not something you need, and maybe it's something we do away with. But I'm curious, who does the Golden Door without having an energy drink during the summer like that? That'd be impressive to me. I'd love to see it.
All right. So if you're watching on YouTube, comment below. Let us know how many drinks you're drinking, what drink you exactly drink. And
if you're the guy who didn't drink the energy drink last summer, I want to know. I'm just curious. And whoever has the fewest, let me know too. Whoever has the most, I'm curious. What flavor do you rotate? Do you stick with one? Is it? I'm a curious guy. Mine is. I take it from my wife. Is the white Monster. It's sugar free. That means it's good for you. It's good. This is not health advice, by the way.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that, Scotty. Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah, that was a really good jam session right there, dude. I really like that. So I hope you guys got something out of that, whether it was from Scotty or myself. As a top 1%er myself, I could definitely tell you that I struggle with that. It's not my favorite thing to do, to go out and be like, yeah, let's go crush the season. Let's go. When I was selling door to door, I wasn't excited to go out every single day. There was a lot of days, not every day, but there was, I would say probably at least two of the 6 to 7 days a week that I was like, I don't think I really want to go out and knock for 5-6 hours a day. I'd rather buy leads. I'd rather do pipeline management, call customers and get referrals. So talk to me about that. Let's go back to your first summer knocking doors. I'm sorry, your first Golden Door Award. So 2 years ago. Tell me about there, and then I can transition into your second year. If you want to mold them together, that's fine. Tell me about some of the struggles of motivation, I guess you could say, or consistency. Did you struggle at all with that? And yeah, where were you at with that?
Yeah, great question. I think both summers, by far my best months were my last couple months. My first Golden Door summer, I didn't have the goal to even do a Golden Door. My goal was, I think it was to do 500 in rev. And it wasn't until like beginning of August where my buddy Ben, also another Golden Door manager, also my best friend, got me into door to door. But he's like, dude, we should go for Golden Door this year. I'm like, what? Like, dude, I'm getting married in September. I can't do that. Like, I gotta go home. Like, I got places to be. He's like, dude, you got a month and a half. I'm like, no, I got a month. He's like, no, you got a month and a half. Okay, I got a month and a half, but that would require me to double everything that I've done so far. Like, I'm gonna have to sell. I was averaging like 4 to 6 accounts. I think 6 accounts a day, and I'm gonna have to average 12 for the next every single day of the summer. Like, I've done that, and that week I'd had a good week. I think I was averaging 12, 13 accounts a day, but I was like, dude, that was my best week. Like, how can I average that for the next 4 weeks, whatever it was? And so, but I did it. I ended up doing it and getting out there with a couple weeks to spare to figure out the groomsmen pants and stuff for the wedding. And hey, it all worked out great. But as far as consistency goes, it is tough. Like, I think your point earlier on how you spend your non-on time, as human beings, we're terrible at flipping switches. As good as you think you are at, hey, I can, at a drop of a hat, I can turn it on, or I can turn it off. Like, it's just not how we're wired. We're not good at instantly shifting gears and shifting mentality and shifting mindset and making our muscles react better than over consistent effort. And I truly believe that a plan put in place will trump instinct every single time. And having a plan where you're planning out your path to success is going to beat your natural instinct to succeed. And we've all heard the saying of the will to prepare to win is much better than the will to win, because we do feel like we can, in the heat of the moment, fourth quarter, game on the line, like we're going to get everything we got. But those that can really execute their planned preparation and start preparing before the moment arises are their 100% will be much more elevated than those that just rely on their instinct and their intuition and their natural ability. So I think for me, my first summer, just with consistency, I had a terrible preseason. My preseasons have always been bad, and I haven't quite figured out why they are, but I think I sold 40 to 60 accounts in a month. And I was like, this is my worst month I've ever had. Did I lose it? Have I been lucky all the time? Like, all those questions and doubts of having done almost 1,000 accounts in the past 2 summers, like, man, they must have just put me, maybe I just somehow landed with the right people. Maybe I was just lucky in that area. Is that, you just have all these questions. And I think where it started to kind of really connect for me is just realizing, hey, this is fine. Like, it's still possible. Like, don't worry about what's happened in the past. Don't worry what has to happen in the future. Worry about now, and don't even worry about today. Worry about this door. Don't worry about the next one. Don't worry about the one that happened. Worry about this door, the one you're on, then move to the next one. And so I kind of would just draw barriers in people's lawns. I use a Segway to move around. Most pest guys do. If you don't, like, you're doing it wrong. Get a Segway. And I think Drew Hansen says then go get another. Like, I used to. And just in case one dies, and I'm like 230. And so it gets slow at a certain battery. So I just swap it out. When it gets slow, I might have 3 because you just, in case one dies, right? So I love that, but I draw borders in people's lawns between 2 houses. And as soon as I pass that border, I'm done thinking about the house that passed. And I'm now looking at the next house for signs of life. I'm looking for things to talk to. I'm looking for flags. I'm looking for stickers. I'm looking for kids' toys in the yard to talk about. Like, I'm immediately on that, talking about it and thinking about it. So, but yeah, I keep straying from your original question of consistency. But I wasn't consistent as well as I wish I was. I wish I could have averaged 8 accounts through the entire year and done it in, I think it's 4 months or something you'd be done. But I averaged 2 to 3, and then I averaged 4 to 3 or 5, and then I averaged 6, and then I averaged 12 or 10 or whatever it ended up being. And I think the results weren't consistent, but my effort was. And I think that's really what matters for those that are going to do a Golden Door, is you can't get thrown off the horse because of the results that you're getting if you're truly putting in all your effort. At some point it will click, and it might not be till month 3 or 4 or 5 or even next year. I set the goal my second year to sell 1,000 accounts. I sold 450, and I was pretty upset. And I was like, I know I have that in me, and I was confident. I read this book from, I think it's Adam Grant, Think Again, and he talks about confidence, and he says that we need to be confident in your ability, but humble in your systems, and being willing to mold and look and really think, hey, am I in the right vehicle to get me there? And just balancing. I think it is tricky, like being the top 1% of the industry, where there's not very many people better. And if they are, they're not better by much. And there's a tricky thing of balancing humility with confidence. And the best way that I can sum that up is parroting what my buddy Ben said, is you want to be confident in your actions, but humble in your results. And if you can have that confidence in your actions, no matter what those results start producing, and obviously there's a certain level where if you're not getting results, you're doing something wrong, and you need to be less confident in your abilities probably, and start learning and go and pair up with Mikey and join his program and learn and grow and be the guy. But yeah, I'd say as far as consistency, there's not a right way to do it. But if I could wrap everything up from rambling last 5 minutes, it's all about your efforts. It doesn't have to be a deal with anyone else. It's just what you're putting in directly dictates what you will get out. And it might not happen right now. It might not be immediate 1-for-1 conversion. It could be, and that equation changes. But control what you're putting in, and that consistency will dictate your consistent efforts eventually.
I'm gonna just wrap some of the things I wrote down there. You said the book was Think Again.
Yeah, I believe it's called Think Again. There's a picture of a water drop, I believe. I listened to it on Audible, so I'm not too sure on that, but I think it's Adam Grant, Think Again. I believe I'd have to look it up, but yeah, have somebody check that for us.
Well, I will. I'm going to put it in the show notes so everyone can. That could ask me all the time, as well as what books the top percenter is reading, and then obviously if a rule of mine is, if anybody ever says this book changed my life, I buy it instantaneously on the spot, and I show them that I purchased the book right then and there. So Think Again, I'll have all those in the show notes below. But this is what I'm looking for, right? So one of the things that I was telling you earlier was the golden door formula, right? The old company over here, my old software. The formula that you said was what you put in dictates what you get out. And again, going back to it's almost like the theme of this is like the simplicity of how easy it is to hit a golden door. I almost feel like Scotty, like you're just like, dude, it's just not that hard. You just go out and just do it. Like you just put in the effort and you get what you get. So, but I know a lot of the listeners that are Golden Door Award winners understand that, because they've especially because it's not just your first time doing this. This is your second time doing this. So it's obvious that obviously works. You're not overcomplicating it. I think that's one of the bigger parts about that of what I was hearing. Specifically is that you're not overcomplicating this process. It is, hey, you've got we call it selective amnesia on doors. You go in, they told you to F off, you go to the next door, F off. I'm now here to help the next homeowner. What you put in dictates what you get out. I'm going to kind of talk about this one too, is the confidence in action and humble in results. Where does that turn bad? Where does being humble destroy you? Where can being too humble destroy you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a difference. I mean, that people might associate the word humble with, and sometimes it's like being meek or being weak, where I don't see it that way.
That's exactly where I'm trying to go. So tell me about that and explain to me what the difference is, so that all the listeners understand what humble is not in your point of view.
Yeah, in my idea, like, humility is not weakness, and a lot of people will be like, "Oh, he's just really humble because he's not confident enough to brag about himself or show his results off." And I think in our industry, it's important to to share things that of your success and to promote that. It's part of our brand. It's how you recruit. It's how you help attract new talent. So that is part of it. And I've been told by leaders and friends, like, dude, you gotta share more stuff. So I felt like I've gotten better at it. But as far as like humility being a weakness, if I could sum up humility, it's not the absence of knowing where you're weak or where you're succeeding. Like people who are truly humble know and are very well versed on who they are, what they're good at, what they're able to do, and their abilities, but they still are progressing, and they're still willing to learn and still willing to grow. So I'd say I honestly don't see too many. The one thing I will say is if your idea of humility is making you less confident on the doors, then that isn't humility. That's just lack of knowledge. It's lack of skill, and it's a lack of confidence. And so I would say not only is a lack of confidence not humility, but it's also very, very different. Because you can be the most confident person in the room and you can still exude this humility. I don't know what would you say that, like, where would humility become a weakness, or where it wouldn't be advantageous for somebody to have?
I had a follow-up question, but I like the fact that you're asking me back questions, so I don't get to talk on my podcast very often. Every once in a while, I'm like, "Hey, this is my opinion." Yeah, let me share my opinion on this one. That's pretty cool. I appreciate that.
Well, I feel like I'm not given. I don't have the answer, and I'm kind of just talking. I really don't know. This is a great question.
You're not talking in circles. You're giving direct answers. Go back and listen to this. You're doing really well. So well that I'm writing and thinking about follow-up questions that I'm like, okay, tell me more here. Tell me more here. Tell me more here. Cause I already know. I try to do my best in when I'm talking to a lot of the guys and girls on the interview here on the show here. I'm obviously talking to you at your level, but when I then listen, I'm actually usually trying to think about it as the audience. Mm-hmm. So instead of me trying to be like, well, what does Mikey Lucas know? Mikey Lucas already knows that. So Mikey Lucas doesn't have an answer. Doesn't have to ask me anything. I'm trying to ask, and I've done that. I've done really well in mastermind groups with that. Is when you're saying something, even though I'm like, oh yeah, Scotty, I agree with you on that. I know what you're talking about, but I'm listening more to ask more questions more for the listener, because I know the listener
amazing
generally want to know more about that. So, what do I think? What was the question again?
It's like where is I'm like rewriting the question in my brain, but
humble.
Where does having too much humility become a weakness, or where can that hinder I would also say, where does it hinder your results?
Yeah. So I talk about this in my book, I talk about in the book. Here's kind of one of the keys to mastering success is you have to understand that when you are a high achiever, people, no matter what, are the people that you think love you. And this is very unfortunate. But it's the truth. Usually are going to do their very best to stop you from going too far for a few different reasons. One, because they're jealous. Two, because they think you're going too fast. You're going to hurt yourself. Whoa, slow down, enjoy your life, right? Like
hard.
And multiple other reasons. But one of the key factors there is that in our generation, I believe that we are very flashy, and I'm not against being flashy by any means. I'm flashy at times. I'm in the nicest high rise in all of Houston right now. Like, on friggin' beautiful sunrises every single day. I love this, but I think we get to a point where, and this is a thing that I say all the time. So if you're listening on the podcast, you probably heard me say this before. But I don't care if you have things, Scotty. I don't care if things have you, Scotty. I don't care if you have things. I care if things have you.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to having humility, when for one, we think a lot of times people that just randomly will hit me up and I'll get on a call with them. And they're like, I'm struggling with this. And I'm like, bro, like, it's not as complicated as you're making it sound. And a lot of times, one thing I'll dive into is that they're in their childhood, or their parents or somebody that's close to them is really trying to limit how far they can go away from the nest. Secondly, on that note, is the humble thing. When humility actually destroys you is when you stop realizing how many people are relying on you to go out and hit the ball out of the park. Even though you might not be able to hit the ball out of the park, you need to hit the ball freaking far, and you need to get on base like all the time. So it's like, oh no, like I won't be the guy that actually wins it for the team. It's like, no, you need to be the guy that wins it for the team, because you never know. There's two angles here. Okay, a lot of times people want to get all flashy, and they don't. I hear this a lot, Scotty. I hear it a lot that, oh, I don't really. I'm cool with having my Toyota Corolla, my Toyota Yaris, my Hoopty, because I don't really like nice cars anyway. And I'm like, you're such a liar. Like, you're a liar. You've never had nice things, so you limit what you think you can have. And again, I'm not for people going out and blowing money on cars and stupid stuff. Like I'm a friggin' wealth educator. Like, dude, I'm all about wealth preservation, not liability accumulation. Like, I'm all for that. But at the same time, humility, especially, I think, man, it's going to be tough to say this, but in the church, I believe the whole taboo thing about money, which makes us to be humble and like not want to, again, hit the ball out of the park. Like, if you get too big, you're like, he must be stealing, he must be lying, he must be, stepping on other people, because that's what,
there's no way he's being blessed with this.
Yeah, Netflix and Hulu says about rich people, right? And I'm like, come on, man. Like, we live this like the outside world, and we are influenced by it as well, believes that people with money are bad. So you then humble yourself, and then you can't pay for your mom's cancer treatments, or pay for the kid to go to school, or help somebody else go on a mission trip, or like, you can't do that. You end up not having the financial resources to bless others because you didn't want to be a blessing, and you decided that God gave you a mouth and hands and feet to go out and serve people and stop them from being completely terrified from having spiders in their house like my wife is. And you decided not to do that. You decided to be humble and not help and serve people. It's like, I understand sometimes certain people, like with money, for instance, I believe money exposes people, like alcohol. I think alcohol exposes people, like they say, oh yeah, the real you comes out. Like, you're so angry when you're when you're drinking alcohol. It's like, yeah, you're so angry when you're rich too, because the real you ends up coming out. Money exposes people. So in my opinion, in my point of view, what I've seen is when people become too humble, they don't live to their fullest potential. And we are the only living creature, the only living organism on this planet that doesn't reach our fullest potential, that can stop before our fullest potential, because God gave us the ability to choose. A tree never says, I'm going to stop growing. A tree always grows to its fullest potential, regarding its, including the calculation of its environment. An ant never stops growing to its fullest potential. An ant always reaches its fullest potential. A dog always reaches its fullest potential, right? An orca always reaches its fullest potential. We are the only things that by choice do not reach our fullest potential, because, I don't know, because we don't believe in ourselves, because we've been conditioned through middle school, elementary school, and high school, and college even, to stay humble. And I get told, I used to get told that I was cocky a lot, and that I was arrogant, and that I was prideful. And I was like, man, like, I don't see that in my character. And I'm all for, and I'm really big on like, hey man, like, I want corrective criticism because I want to do better. But I started getting it from the same group of people over and over and over again, not realizing at that time they were just projecting what they were onto me. And I'm like, bro, like, if you knew who I actually was, like, there is no way you would say this. So that's why it's very important in this whole humble thing as a top performer, to have a tight-knit group of people that are not going to yes man you, that are going to be real with you, Scotty, and are going to tell you, hey, Scotty, you're being an asshole. You need to chill out. Like, you're not, this is not confidence anymore. You've passed the line. It's done. It's over. Like, you need to chill out. You need to humble yourself. right?
Yeah.
But you only take advice, not only, but you mostly take advice from those people. And if they are there and they like the whole Jordan Peterson thing, I have it right here. One of his quotes, let me pull it up really quickly, is make friends with people who want the best for you. And if I want the best for you, Scotty, and you're on track to potentially in 1 year or 10 years or 20 years cheat on your wife, I'm going to talk to you about that. If you're on track 1 year, 10 years, 20 years to go bankrupt because your financial fortitude, your financial strategy is going off, I'm going to talk to you about that. And you got to have friends like that in your inner circle, and you got to be very tight with those people and be very careful who you allow in there, because most of the time people want you to be humble so that they can pass you and so they can talk crap on you behind your back. That's what I think.
Yeah, I love that. I think the one thought I was having as you're sharing that is how often we confuse humility with comfortability and being comfortable. Like a lot of times I'll make the excuse like, because I'm humble, I don't need to do that. Like my humility limits my growth and success. But it's not humility. Like that's not what that is. I don't even know if this is a word. But my desire to be comfortable and not break out the limits, it's not humility, because to your point, I'm not thinking about everyone else. Like if I break this limit, everyone that depends on me and everyone who looks to me and expects me and hopes for me to do that, that's going to elevate them.
Exactly.
And so I think for the most part, I'm going to answer your question with no. I don't see an issue where true humility, where you understand your potential and you're reaching for your potential and you're not bragging. I don't see it as a weakness, but I do see a false like connectiveness to that word as an excuse to not fulfill your potential. Because I think that true humility will cause you to grow. You'll recognize where you can grow, and you won't be so prideful to not try to grow that and to develop and to help others grow as well. But I will say that there is sometimes, whether it's weakness, whether it's comfortability, whether it's being too meek or shy, that does become a problem. That's something that does need to change, and it does need to be developed and cultivated and unrooted. It needs to go away. Because I think think of your organization, whoever you're with, think of your org that you're working with. How many people who have been here for a year, who have been here for 2 years, who have managed, who are managers, and if they went out and they sold a Golden Door, how many people would it affect? Hey, if he could do it, my manager, I've seen him sell this many accounts, 300 accounts, he's done 200 installs, whatever. If he could go out and do the Golden Door, my growth and my ability to believe in myself, I would assume the impact would be enormous. And I can think of so many managers, whether they're here where I work, whether in other spots, that live in this circle of comfortability. I keep using this word. I'm going to make it. It's a word, being comfortable. But they live in that, and the negative impact it has on not just their organization, but everyone in that company suffers for it. And I think just making that decision to push that level and go for it. And I truly believe there's a lot of people who think, I don't know if I can do it, so I'm not going to try. And shifting that mindset to, I don't know if I can do this, but let's see if I can. And that difference is huge as far as selling Golden Doors or succeeding in life and being successful. That willingness to try and give it your all and give it your 100%. I think is extremely, extremely important, and being confident in your ability to succeed, but humble in your desire to grow and learn, and wanting to challenge your methods and see if you have more to learn to match what your goals are.
Thank you for sharing that, bro. Appreciate that. You got me on fire there for a second.
I loved it. It's good stuff. Go back and re-listen to this. Also, if you're listening and you've got a scenario or thought about where humility can be a weakness, like drop in the comments. I want to read it. I want to hear other people's opinions, because this is good stuff. I'm curious about this now. If you know of a book too, I like listening to books. I don't really read, but I love Audible. So if you got a good book that talks about this, let me know.
I do have one on that, and I agree with you. If you do have any struggles with that or have any ideas, I would love to have a Discord on that in the comments below. One book that I've read that has opened my eyes further is Give and Take. So if you haven't read that book, I definitely recommend reading that book regarding being too humble, where humble destroys you, can destroy you. Being humble, negative, false humility, which is what you're talking about. Which I love that you said that, because that's what I'm talking about. I never really knew how to like put it on that, because it's false humility. And it's also, there's also like false confidence and false being people, right? Like it's the same thing. It's a very, that was a very, I love that. So I appreciate you sharing that on that one. Give and Take is that book there. You said this, and then I'm going to transition. I've got a couple more questions, and I'm going to try to rapid fire these, because I want to know some of these. I want to know some more from you. You said, I don't know if I can. So this is around the mindset. So it sounds like these are word tracks that you keep telling yourself. So if you can, and you've said a few of these over and over again. So, I like those, because I think self-talk is one of the ways to beat self-doubt is to use self-talk, positive self-talk. So you said, I don't know if I can do this, but let's see it. But let's see if I can. I think it says, is that what you said? You said, I don't know.
I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if I can do it, but let's find out, right? It's the one to jump in and go 100%. And where I've developed this thought is probably from other people, honestly, and not hearing it clearly the first time, but over and over, people have said something similar. And I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea, right? It's probably not an original thought, but every neighborhood has these green boxes where people can go, and you'll find reps that'll go and they'll sit on these green electrical boxes. You're like, dude, what are you doing here? And I think a lot of times, whether it's the park bench, whether it's the green box, whether it's the car, whether it's not even leading for area, like these things that people aren't truly working, right? Not even the best pitch is going to succeed if it's not on the doors. Like you have to be on the doors to sell. And the mindset that I would characterize is, I feel like some people, they're scared of failure, and their way to cope with that is they say, hey, I'm only going to give 80%, or I'm only going to give 95%. So if I fail at this, like I'm going to give 80%, 95%. So that's enough to succeed. But in the case that I don't, in the off chance that I don't succeed, I'm not really failing, because I didn't give it my all. Like if I would have given 100%, I probably could have done it, but I'm just not going to give it my all, right? I'm not going to get out early. I'm not going to do preseason. I'm not going to train or hone my pitch or listen to books or get myself in physical shape or, be more attentive to my nightly habits or my morning routine. Like, and then at the end of the summer, we're like, dude, like, hey, your goal was this, like, you're so close. Like, what could you change different? And immediately there's these things. Oh, dude, I could have had a better nightly routine. I should have done preseason. I could have woken up early. It's like, well, when did you know that was an issue? And usually it's day one. Like, yeah, dude, I know this isn't really helping me, but it's whatever. So, and that's not everybody. I would say, and I wouldn't say everyone would be able to identify that, but I do think it's a thing where the ability to feel okay after failing is true confidence, where you're confident enough that if you fail at this, you're going to be all right. Right. And so I think for me, it's going into summers of, hey, I'm going to sell 1,000 accounts. I'm going to get a golden door. I'm going to be top rookie or whatever it is. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to have the business. I'm going to get married. I'm going to do these things. And having the thought, well, is that truly possible? And because we haven't done it before, we don't know the answer. Like there's a lot of things that could go wrong, or that could make it not happen just because we haven't done it before. But being willing to give 100% and go all in, where if you fail, like you're a failure. If you don't do it and you gave 100%, like, dude, you failed. Like you didn't do it. You set out to do it. You failed, but that's okay. And because you gave it all, you did your best. And a lot of times that can be made up with more time and just extending that time horizon. So for me, I think like a golden door, if you mentioned to me about formulas, and immediately, like I like math. My wife is taking a stats class now. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to do the stats. I'm like, I don't know stats, but I love math. She's doing algebra right now. I'm like, dude, I haven't done an algebra problem in years. Like, let me see this. Let me solve for X really quick. Square root here. I like that stuff. But
ChatGPT.
The equation I keep thinking of for greatness, like what makes people truly great, is effort multiplied by time. Because it's inverse, right? The more effort you put in, if you have 100% effort, but you have zero time to do that, you're going to have zero greatness. Same thing around the other way. If you don't have any greatness, but you have all the time in the world to do it, you're still not going to come out with very much. And it's kind of like the more you add in both, obviously best case scenario, multiply 100 by 100 or whatever it is. But the more greatness you have, right? When I started out and first started selling, I had very low effort. My effort was there, and my time was there. But if I had extended my time longer, if I knocked for 4 months my first summer, if I had knocked for 12, I probably would have gotten a golden door my first summer, my first year, right? That time extension is going to get me to where I need to be. Even though I couldn't really control how much effort and my ability and stuff was putting in. I put good effort in, but my skill level wasn't there. So there's probably another part of the equation that we're missing out on your ability. So maybe ability, effort, and time would all go in together. But yeah, I think just the confidence that you're going to give it everything you have. And if you don't have it by your time date, you can extend your time date, or you can increase in your effort and put more effort in, or increase the amount of time in a day that you do, or you can heighten your ability. And to me, the easiest way to get a golden door, the easiest thing that you could do to get to the next step is simply having more time, whether that's more time in a day or more time in a year. And it's to all of our solar blitzers out there, it's spending a little bit of time before they go out on the blitz, getting the mindset set up, or go year round. And if you're going year round, stop working 2 or 3 hours, like treat it like a job. And to my thought, I don't believe there's anyone out there who can't get a golden door if they're truly working year round. Whatever industry you're in, roofing, solar, pest, like if you really want it enough, just start in January 1st, start knocking, and end December 31st. It probably won't take you that long, but if you say you have a year to do it, it's definitely going to take you a year. But yeah, there's no reason, like there's so much time in the day to do it. And if that's what you want to do, there shouldn't be, there's the time isn't the constraint. Like a year to do any of these goals is, people are doing these in like 3 months or 2 months, it's like, oh man, I got to get better. But time definitely isn't the constraint.
I 100% agree. I'll prove it to you. Tanner Williams, Golden Door Award winner, sold 132 installs in, I think, 5 months. He did the summer sales with Active Solar.
Yep.
And did 132 sales in 5 months. And
that was his first year doing solar.
I think it was his second. It might be first, but I think it was his second. I know he's eight years in door to door.
Yeah.
But anyways, so okay, let me transition. Before we transition, let me put a little cliff note on that. Is you said ability, potentially the formula might have been ability times effort multiplied by time equals. You said success.
Yeah, I'd say greatness or success. Yeah,
the golden door, right? It's greatness, success, right? I know what you mean by this, but I actually would not. I don't want to say disagree, but I wrote down
proof for my formula, or give me another substitution in there.
I know. I was like, that's what I thought in my head. I was like, oh, how many words can I? And usually I would like Google ability and synonym. I think it would be the will to win. The will, like having the will there. If you have the will to win, the will to succeed, plus the effort, plus the time, or times that by the time, then yes, you'll hit the golden door. Yes, you'll hit the success. You'll hit the greatness.
Yeah. Will to win. I'd say desire. Yeah, desire, effort, time.
Yep. Because I think we can always grow our ability, and that's what you said there. You're like, I don't think it's the ability, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't have the ability yet. It's like, well, grow your ability. So I don't think you need the ability to hit it, because I've seen some not able people hit golden door awards, or not able people hit $500,000 a year in income in door-to-door sales. So I don't think it's the ability that people are lacking, but you're right in the skill set, in that definitely just go become better. Yeah, 100%. So I wanted to touch on that really quick and then transition. Any final?
Yeah, throw. I'm okay with that. Throw ability out, put in will to win, desire. I like that more, because ability is going to come naturally. Like if you really want enough, you're going to figure it out. You've got the time, you've got the effort. You just need the will to actually improve. Okay.
Now that unfortunately takes me back to something else I wanted to ask you that wasn't on this, because I want to ask you some other things. What makes you want it? Like what makes you said the desire. What, as a Golden Door Award winner, what made you desire to hit a golden door? or to be the best version of yourself to hit this 1,000 accounts?
Yeah, great question. I've reflected about this a lot because I've had a hard time really trying to pinpoint exactly what it was. I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. I think a big driver for me is people. I'm a natural people pleaser. I like to make people happy. I like to make people feel good and laugh. And but I also like nobody hates recognition, right? It's one of the cravings that we have as humans is to be recognized and accepted and to feel good. So there's a little bit of that. Morgan, and he probably talked about it on his podcast. I haven't listened to it yet, but he talked about it in Door to Door Con on his panel. As he said, that his three main drivers were fear, love, and pride. And you got to have a little bit of everything to get you to go on. It's I think he called it the three primal instincts. But for me, my first Golden Door, a lot of it was just was the pride within myself. Like I knew I could do it because I'd done well. I'd seen other people do it, and I didn't see any difference between what other people had done and what I could do myself. Not very much, like very, very, I would say maybe 0.01% was a financial desire. Like, man, dude, I just need to make this much money. It wasn't in the cards for me. It's not what I really wanted to do. I had other things interested. I wanted to get into real estate, wanted to learn, wanted to start investing. But most of it was just, I wanted to do it, and I wanted to prove it could be done. Only I know what I've done and who I am and what I'm capable of. And and like I went back to it, it's like not very many Golden Door, or no one knows like what it's truly like to get a Golden Door until you've done it. And then there's this new respect kind of earned and gained. Just because a lot of people will think, selling 100 accounts a year is probably harder than it is to sell 1,000 accounts. And some people are like, yeah, dude, selling 100 accounts way easier than selling 1,000. But it goes both ways. Like it's hard to, this is the hardest job to be bad at. Like it sucks to suck at this job, man. Like the days where you're not selling a single thing and no one's listening to you, like that is the worst day. But I would say some of the most exhausting days are the days where you just can't stop signing people up. You're left and right signing them up. You get by the end of the day, it's 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock, and you're at 20 accounts, 17 accounts, and you're drained, man. Like you're like, there's no way. I'm hoping for a 4-day tomorrow because I'm just beat. And it's different, but there's also that level of like, in order for me to do this and meet my goal, like I have to perform. I know I can sell 2 accounts every day. Easy. I know I can do 3. I know I can do 4. I know I can do 5. Once you start getting those bigger numbers where you're having to do 12 or 7 or 8 or whatever your number is, you start questioning like what's real and what you can actually do. And that's tough. It's tough on you mentally. And, but I mean, you do it, you just go out and you're like, I don't know if I can do it. I think back to my first summer, and it was to the point I was 3 weeks away from where I needed to be back, getting ready with Alyssa to get married. And I needed to do 10 or 12 accounts a day at some point. And I sent to my family, hey guys, like I've been good. Like I've done my effort. I'm knocking more hours. I'm doing everything I can, but I need some sort of other help. Like pray for me to help me get this goal. Like it's funny to me because it's like, there's so many people in the world who have so much less than I do. And it's interesting to me, and hopefully it's all right for me to go on this little tangent, but it's something I've learned, and I truly believe, because I struggled with it for a little bit, thinking about, there's kids where I've served in Guatemala and people in other places of the world who the biggest blessing for them would get something to eat and have clothes on the back and have a house. Like that would be awesome. Where I'm here praying for 10 sales a day, that's going to make me, thousands and eventually hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've realized that we have a God who is limitless, and for him, it's all right. He can bless thousands of people with things to eat, and he can also bless me with 10 sales. And it doesn't like lose his capacity. It's not like, oh, Scotty got a sale. Sorry, like hundreds of kids over here, like you guys don't get anything to eat. Like he took the sale. He's not limited that way. And I think that we're very similar with our capabilities. Like we don't have a limit on exchanging what we do, but we are trapped by time. And so we just need to figure out ways to use our time to get to our limits. And I think, like you were saying earlier, like we never reach our full potential. And I think a big part of that is just, there's so much other things that take up our time. But Yeah, just that. I don't even know what the original question was, but I think just thinking back to my first summer, the doubt of being able to hit that number consistently after I did it the day before and the day before that and the day before that and the day before that and the day before that, but thinking, can I do it another day? Every day I'd call Alyssa, who we weren't even married, and just I needed something like, hey, like I got this. Or I called Ben and he was doing it with me and like, hey man, we can do this. Like we got it. And just having those people in your ring that truly believe in you and want the best is super important to me.
I love that, dude. Let me transition here really quickly because I want to talk to you. I want to talk about you and Alyssa, your wife. So you've been dating her before you hit Golden Door. She's been with you during both Golden Door awards. I want to talk to you about that really quick because it's really important to me to talk about that. One, because I just got married. Two, because
Congrats.
thank you. Other Golden Door Award winners, marriages that I've had on this show are not perfect. And I love that we can talk about it here. And it's a safe place to be able to do that because nobody's talking about it. It's like, just avoid the problem. Like, let's just suppress the fact that there's marital freaking problems out there. And not on this show. We're going to talk about it. So
open it up.
Yeah, man. So just tell me a little bit about you and Alyssa and how it came to be and how she supported you. Just tell me some practical things there because I know what a lot of guys specifically struggle with is this idea that of sacrificing time with her. Like I think 99% of women want quality time. And during a Golden Door year, that quality time's not there. So tell me about that. Like, what was your strategy with that? Tell me some word tracks did you have to go back and remind her? Like, what did that look like? Did she ever call you off doors and be like, yo, come home? The house is burning down and it wasn't really burning down. Like what happened?
Cool. So I'm stoked to talk about this. This is gonna be awesome. So not from me, hopefully from you. But one thing I would say is another thing. So right next to how many energy drinks that people drink, I'm curious, like what percentage of Golden Doors are married? Because I feel like it's a pretty high percentage, at least in the pest control industry. And I truly believe that we're supposed to be together. You're supposed to have a partner, and that connection and that bond is instrumental for reaching our full potential as people. And I think that there's no coincidence that that Golden Door winners, a lot of them are married or in relationships. And it's not that, hey man, things just get way easier on the doors. Like your wife does your laundry, she cooks your food. Like it's just way, way easier. Cause I would definitely argue it's way harder. It's way harder to knock doors when you're married. It's way harder to move out for the summer. But I would also go back to something we talked about of this constant not switching your mind on and off, where a lot of these Golden Door guys, very few of them, I would say, maybe in different industries, but in pest, almost all of them manage teams. So not only are they married and they have a commitment to a partner, not only do they manage a team, but they're also outselling everybody else in the industry. And it's like, if you run through our formula, like those guys have way less time to be great. They've got to sacrifice and make sacrifices everywhere else. But I feel like we're way better at managing that time. And then two, on the off season, when they're not selling, their brain is still active. They're not just walling away and whatever there is to sit and chill. Like they're recruiting guys. They're in meetings. They're thinking about how can I improve my marriage? How can I improve my team? How can we make a better future together? And so their brain is constantly progressing, which makes it way easier during the summer to progress as well. So some actionable items I would say for people that are married. Number one, and hope this isn't like an end all, right? If you feel like, oh man, this is wrong, like I didn't do it right, then it's not the end all. But number one is marry the right person and find somebody who supports you with your goals. Because whoever you end up marrying, like they're automatically being placed in that inner circle. And if they're not the kind of person to help you grow, like that's going to be extremely, extremely difficult. And where it's really tough for us is finding first year sales guys and girls that come out and are married. It's extremely hard for them their first summer than it would be for somebody who's sold before. And then they go on and then they get married. And then it's like, hey, this is what the summer is going to look like. This is what it's going to be. And the reason I think that's so difficult for first year married reps is it's not that they haven't married the right person. Like, that's not what it is. It's that they just don't understand what it's truly going to be like. So number two, marry the right person. Number two, I'd say is have a good idea of what it's going to look like. Paint the picture and be prepared for what the summer is going to look like. So for me, with my first summer, we did distance. Alyssa lived here in Utah. I flew out to Pittsburgh, and like 2 months before that, she's like, "So what's going to go on?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not proposing before I leave." And I think she was a little sad, but we also hadn't really like talked about it. We weren't really there yet. I wasn't sure where I was at. But she'd also like, I can understand, like, it sucks. Like, you're just going to leave for Pittsburgh and you're going to leave me here. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what if it doesn't work out? Thankfully it did. And I probably should have proposed before I left, because if I would have lost Alyssa, that would have been the biggest L I've ever taken. But having a plan prepared where we're like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. Like, don't talk to me in my knocking hours, but talk to me whenever. And creating like things where quality time works. Going back to the thing I shared earlier, where instinct would not have made this relationship work, right? If we just showed up from day one, where I'm home with Alyssa, to day two, I'm on the doors, I think things would have broken apart in a week or two if I hadn't laid out a plan of what it was going to look like. So I'd say number one, right person. Two is have a plan prepared for the summer. And then three, understand that ability to be strategically in balance. There's going to be times where you can give a lot of time to your partner, to your wife, to your husband. And there's going to be times where your team or your doors or your goals are going to have to take time away for that. And being willing to be flexible and nimble. That's why I'm not like a huge proponent of having a really solid morning schedule, is because there's going to be days where my time is way more valuable somewhere else. And if I don't give my time to that area, everything else is going to be affected by it. And even if I don't go to the gym that day, my day is not ruined. Sure, there's sometimes that going to the gym is the most important thing for me or my wife to do. Like, that's awesome for us. But there's other times where that is the last thing I should be doing. And being willing to be flexible and nimble and in tune with you and your partner's decisions is super, super important to knocking doors, and especially getting a golden door. And just having that support is essential. So yeah, I think just to recap, I'd say right person, have a good idea of what it's going to look like. If this is your first summer selling and you found the podcast, first off, like, that's absolutely awesome. I did nothing like that my first summer, so you guys are on track. But if this is, and maybe it's your first summer married, like, create a really good idea of what it's going to look like. And then be willing to be flexible, be nimble. And if for some reason you haven't given that, my wife's love language is quality time. And we're good sales guys for the most part, but we're developing husbands and wives. Like, we got a lot to learn still. And if you haven't given that quality time or that physical touch or those compliments and any other love language there are, then you need to start making up for it and being willing to start taking away from other time and dedicating into that, because that's going to affect your summer way more than anything else you could be doing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. On the last statement you just said specifically, that if your home life is not somewhat dialed, like, it's going to affect how you sell, to a point where, and I don't need to get in the story, but to a point where in my journey of coaching guys, and that means including like when I had my companies, that I care a lot about their wife, to the point where if I can see that they are distraught when they're coming in the office, I'm going to talk to them on the side about that. Be like, hey man, like, is there anything I can do? And not just like, oh yeah, like, I've always got an open door policy, come talk to me. No, I'm going to like seriously talk to them about it. Because a lot of times it's especially if you're new into entrepreneurship, and there is no salary in pest control or door-to-door sales. Like, there is no salary that I know of. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple. I mean, okay, oh, cool. I had like a small salary. I think there's some guys that like at Sunrun that have a salary, but like still, like, that's like the one-offs. It's complicated when you have no steady Eddie paycheck, and we're entrepreneurs, and we get paid based off of our effort. So it's hard when your wife doesn't see that, and also she expects you to be the alpha, and not solely, but to be the breadwinner as well. Not every time, but a lot of times that's how it happens. Where again, if you don't end up being the breadwinner, she then needs to go be the alpha in that specific case, or then she needs to go and find out a way to make more money and supply for your family. And that's again where her feminine side clashes with your masculine side, and it ends up ruining relationships, or making men not want to even be around their wives. So yeah, that being said, it's important to have a home life dialed in. And if your home life's not dialed in because of finances, again, it comes back to your consistent effort over time equals success, right? Like what you were talking about earlier, like, dude, like you can't go down, complacency will kill not just your finances, not just, taking your house away, but it'll take your marriage away as well. In all aspects of life. One of the first interviews I interviewed Ashton Buswell, and he was like, hey man, like I asked him kind of the same question. He was like, dude, one of the most important parts of my week is I take my wife on a date every single week, and I do as well. And one of the things that I want to be around people that are doing that, because I think that that's important. If you're not actively pursuing your wife and continue to date her and court her after you're married, again, it's the same thing of effort. It's like, yeah, if you go and sit on the power box, you go and sit on the curb or the bench, park bench, like obviously you're not going to hit a golden door. Like if that's consistently what you're doing, if you don't continue to date your wife, you can pretty much guarantee, especially with us as top performers, you can pretty much guarantee that your wife is going to, find other ways to be, to satisfy her quality time, to satisfy her, like you said, physical touch and words of affirmation, things like that. So it's important for me to make sure that all the listeners here understand that I believe in whole life success. I don't care if you have a Golden Door award, if you're a prick to your wife and you don't take care of your wife. And that doesn't mean, buying her Louis Vuitton and the Rolls Royce or whatever. Like, find out what your wife's needs and study your wife as if it's your same thing as studying your craft. Your wife is very important to you. Your significant other should be very important to you, and they are a human. And again, they also make mistakes too. So, be easy on your significant other, and date your wife. So that's important to me.
Yeah, the Golden Door Award is great, but it pales in comparison to having a really healthy, happy, and successful marriage.
100%. Well, dude, let me end here. It's been a pleasure. What's Scotty's end goal?
Yeah. So this is kind of interesting because growing up, I never really had a career that I wanted to end up in. My friends all did. Most people do. They have an idea where they want to go, what they want to be. And I, for the longest time, never had an answer, and eventually settled on one thing, that I wanted to have a career that allowed me to have time with my family, where I could be the coach, I could be the husband that was there for the wife, and I could be there for the kids' games like my parents were for me. And that's all. Like, that's my goal, is to have that. However, I've found some things along the way that are important to me. I love to teach. I love being able to help people succeed more than they would have without me being in their lives. And so two end goals, I would say. One is help as many people as I can to get to their highest level of success and exaltation that they possibly can. That's one of my goals. And I'd say the other one is just to get my family there with me, is probably the number one. So get my family to the highest level of success and exaltation they can have. And number two is get as many people there with me. And I think that in business and in sales, there's a lot of overlaps with a holistic life, and being able to be a good person and a good people, or a good salesman, and be able to convince people to buy things. It has nothing to do with your ability to sell, but it has everything to do with your ability to deal with people. And the better your people skills, the more influence you'll have. And there's no better internship to learn how to be, a good person or a person that knows how to deal with people than doing a summer of door-to-door sales. And so my end goal, there's steps along the path that are going to get me there. I want to get into real estate. I'm in the Airbnb market right now. I got a listing and it's been doing great. I want to I've kind of come and go. I've been flexible, crypto this, maybe not. Oh, it's coming back up. Maybe I'll dive in again. And a couple different investments and startups. Like those aren't my end goals, but it does give my life a little bit of direction. The end goal is kind of what I've explained before. And that's, it's not where I want to end. There's a lot more past that, but it does. I'm a big believer in goals aren't really the end point. It's not an end of your line, but it's designed to say, here's where I'm at now, and this is where I want to be. But I don't really want to end here. I want to end way farther out. But for that goal, that's going to get my life some direction. I know where to start and I know where to get, and you can eventually set more farther along goals. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And obviously there's a lot of other things with there. I want to be the best person I can doing it. And I want to, add value to those that I care about and bring them with me. Like there's no sense in going about this life alone. And if I had to do it alone, then I just have to find something else where I can do something with other people together. So that's kind of my main end goals.
I appreciate you sharing that, brother. Let me challenge you in this. One of the biggest questions I get online or whenever I go and coach or teach offices or whatnot, is how do I stay motivated? And how you stay motivated is to get hyper clear on what you want. Now, there's a problem with that because when you get too clear, then your blueprint, once it becomes off, for instance, in my life, I would be married by 26. I wasn't married till I was 29. If that was the case, then I thought I was a failure and I didn't hit it. So let me wrap it up by saying this. Find out exactly how many people you want to impact. And if that's over the next, and I would just say to do it over the next 2 to 5 years, like max, and probably like 2 to 3 years, and say, I want to help, let's just say, and this is something that I write down, and I've told a lot of people to do this, but I want to help, 150 people hit $100,000. I want to help 50 people to hit $250,000. And I want to help 10 people hit $300,000 or more. So get clear. I know you probably have those numbers, but I want you to start talking about those even more throughout this year, because obviously going into right now, as when this podcast comes out, you're in the middle of your recruiting season. I want you to get hyper clear on how many people you want to make money for, and then obviously draw out that, what they're going to do with that money as well, if you can, things like that. Yeah. To me, it's important because when you can have clearer goals like that, then you can start saying, how that money's going to help Jared's Christmas with his wife and kids after summer. Like I want to change people's Christmases. I want to paint people's daughter's 30-year-old birthday parties. I want to change those things. I want them to make money not so they can have a freaking Ferrari. I want them to make money so they can change, and again, it's not about whatever, but you get the point I'm saying. Tie the emotion to it, and then also the results to it, but also tie the number to it as well. And I'm sure you have those, but I want you to start. I really want to challenge you in that and do that this year, especially going into your recruiting season.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. I'll do it. Thank you.
Of course, brother. Cool, brother. Well, it's been a pleasure. Any final words for the Golden Door Award winners this year?
Yeah, for all you guys out there, congrats. First off, I know what it takes. There's few of us that do, and there's no one that truly knows what it's like than somebody else who's done it before. So first off, I look up to each and every one of you guys. Congrats. Do it again if that's your goal. And yeah, I just, my final thoughts would just be that fear will always kill more than failure ever will. And be willing to be bold, be daring, go out, crush it. Got another year. It'll make it awesome.
I love that. Scotty Pugmire, where can we find you on the internet?
Best place to find me is on Instagram for now. Unless I start a TikTok page, you'll see that viral. No, just right now, Instagram. It's Pugmire_Scotty. That's probably the best place. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn. If you want to get to know me there as well, it's Pugmire. It's probably Scott on there, so Scott Pugmire. But yeah, that's the best place to reach out to me.
Awesome, brother. Well, cool, brother. Appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing you on stage again next year, bro.
Awesome. Love to be here. Thanks for the invite. Really, really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. God bless you, man. Have a good one.
See ya.